You thought the first garage tour was wild? Think again. Goonzquad Secret Garage 2.0 is louder, meaner, and packed with even more rebuilt chaos. From totaled supercars to home-built monsters, this lineup isn't just a flex, it is a full-blown declaration of war on stock builds. Let's crack it open. Before we get to the new age exotics and wild customs, let's take a quick pit stop down memory lane, because you can't talk about the Goonzquad's garage without paying respect to a build that helped kick this whole thing off. Their 2015 Ford Mustang GT. Now, if you've been rocking with Goonzquad since the early days, this Mustang probably hits you right in the nostalgia. This wasn't just a build, it was the build. One of their first major projects that showed the world what these two Tennessee brothers were all about. Wrenching, rebuilding, and resurrecting machines that most people would have left for dead. When they picked up the Mustang, it was a salvage special. We're talking fender damage, front bumper wrecked, and even a bit of a bent frame. Nothing too crazy, but definitely not plug and play. What made this build special was how it showed their early grind. These dudes weren't just swapping parts, they were learning as they went, figuring out framework adjustments, replacing panels, and making sure this pony roared like new. And let's not forget what makes a 2015 Mustang GT so iconic, that 5-liter Coyote V8 under the hood. This thing is a beast, even bone stock, and that's probably how they kept it. Sure, maybe some subtle tweaks like an exhaust or some wheels, how they like to spice things up, but the real goal here was bringing the Mustang back to its factory glory. Once it was done, the car looked clean, like OEM clean. And like a lot of their early projects, the Mustang probably found a new home after its full revival, sold to fund whatever madness they had cooking up next. That's honestly just how they roll. Flip, fund, repeat. But even if it's not sitting in the current lineup, the 2015 Mustang GT deserves its spot in the Goonzquad Hall of Fame. It's part of their origin story, a V8-powered reminder that before the Lambos and twin-turbo builds, it all started with some elbow grease and a salvage title stang. Next, let's talk about one of the most unexpected curveballs in Goonzquad's Secret Garage 2.0, the DF Goblin Kit Car. Now, if you're used to seeing Goonzquad piece together busted up Lambos or drop fresh V8s into muscle cars, this one probably made you do a double take. Because this wasn't a salvage title rescue, this was a straight up ground up build. So here's the deal. The DF Goblin is a mid-engine open-wheel kit car designed to be lightweight, fast, and straight up gnarly. It's like a street-legal go-kart on steroids. The cool part, it's built using parts from a Chevy Cobalt. Yeah, you heard that right. A humble little Cobalt donor car becomes the heart of this wild little machine. The Goonzquad's brothers partnered up with DF Kit Car out of Dallas, Texas, and got the frame and body shipped out. And the rest? That was all them. What makes this build so special in the Goonzquad lineup is that it wasn't about fixing damage or chasing horsepower numbers. It was about building something from scratch. They had to bolt every single component together, drop in the engine, tweak the chassis, fit the body panels, and make sure this thing was dialed in just right. It was a pure mechanical challenge, and they crushed it. And they couldn't just leave it plain. The paint job? Fire. The wheels? Definitely chosen with care. And while they didn't break down every mod, they probably gave the donor engine a few spicy upgrades just to keep things interesting. The end result was something totally unique in their collection. Raw, light, and completely custom. But maybe the best part of this Goblin wasn't just how it turned out, it was what it represented. This build wasn't about showing off, it's about showing people what's possible. It inspired a whole wave of DIY gearheads who realized, hey, I could actually build my own car. Goonzquad took the mystery out of it, showed every step, and gave people the confidence to dive in themselves. So while the Goblin might not have the exotic badge or the big price tag, it's one of the most authentic builds they've done. It's raw Goonzquad DNA, creativity, hands-on work, and that fearless attitude of, yeah, we can build that. And that's exactly the kind of energy that makes their Secret Garage 2.0 so exciting. Next, let's get into one of the crown jewels of Goonzquad's Secret Garage 2.0, the Ferrari 458 Spider. Now, this is the kind of build that made longtime fans sit up and say, okay, these boys aren't just playing around anymore. When the Goonzquad's brothers picked up that wrecked 458 Spider, it was more than just another rebuild. It was a statement. We're talking about a full-blown Italian supercar with a screaming 4.5-liter naturally aspirated V8. and they didn't flinch. This wasn't a Mustang with just some front-end damage. This was high-end, high stakes, and high dollar. Parts expensive, repairs complex, risk through the roof. But man, did they deliver. From the jump, this build was a grind. The car likely had front or side impact damage, which is pretty typical for wrecked Ferraris, but finding the parts to bring it back to life wasn't just a matter of hopping online and clicking add to cart. They had to hunt down OEM Ferrari components, work with tight tolerances, and figure out how to bring back that iconic design without cutting corners. And while most people would have backed off at the first mention of Ferrari repair invoice, Goonzquad leaned all the way in. They showed us everything. Bodywork, frame straightening, mechanical fixes, paint correction, you name it. And it was all filmed, step by step, showing just how far they've come since the days of salvaging busted trucks and base model sedans. It wasn't just about getting the car to run, it was about doing justice to what a 458 Spider is, and that is next level attention to detail. And when it came to the finish, factory spec all day, with maybe a few visual tweaks to make it pop in true Goonzquad fashion. Think sharp wheels, maybe a cleaned up interior, and that paint? Absolutely buttery. They didn't need to go wild with mods. This car already brought the fire straight from Maranello. The real flex was getting it back on the road, looking and sounding like the day it rolled out of the factory. The Ferrari 458 Spider was a turning point. It wasn't just another car in the garage, it was a badge of honor. Proof that these guys weren't just DIY YouTubers anymore. They were building legit high-caliber dream cars with their own two hands. Now let's talk about a build that brought the thunder to Goonzquad's garage, the Dodge Hellcat. You already know the kind of energy a Hellcat brings to the table. That supercharged 6.2-liter Hemi V8 isn't just an engine, it's a declaration of war on traction. And when the Goonzquad crew picked one up as a salvage project, it was game on. This one wasn't just about horsepower numbers or flashy paint. It was about lessons learned the hard way. The Hellcat came in wrecked, probably with the kind of frame and mechanical damage that would scare off most folks. But Goonzquad, they dove in. This rebuild wasn't clean and easy. It was gritty, full of trial and error, and that is what made it so fun to watch. There were moments during the frame repair and mechanical work where things didn't go as planned. The brothers even admitted they hit some snags and learned a ton on the fly. But that's the beauty of it. The Hellcat became a symbol of their hands-on evolution. Every misstep turned into a skill, every challenge became content, and by the end of it all, they had turned a total mess into a track-ready beast. And let's not forget, it's a Hellcat. Once they got it dialed in, that thing screamed like a banshee and looked straight up menacing. The build didn't need a crazy wide-body kit or a bagged suspension to make a statement. The rumble of that supercharged V8 did all of the talking.
Filthy, man. What a filthy animal.
In the lineup of Goonzquad's projects, the Dodge Hellcat stands out as one of the most raw, aggressive, and relatable builds they've done. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't polished, but it was real. And it showed just how far they've come, wrench by wrench, mistake by mistake, until they had something truly savage rolling out of the garage. Now, if we're talking about pure American chaos on four wheels, then there is no way we can skip over one of the most savage builds in Goonzquad's Secret Garage 2.0, the 2014 Dodge Viper TA, that being the Time Attack Edition. This isn't your average Viper, it's lighter, tighter, and meaner, built for the track with performance in its DNA. And of course, the Goonzquad brothers brought it back from the brink, because that's just what they do. They picked it up in classic Goonzquad's fashion, totaled. We're talking wrecked, bent, and in the kind of shape that would make even experienced builders think twice. But instead of backing down, they rolled up their sleeves and got to work, determined to return this monster to its hell-raising glory. This build was serious business. Frame straightening, full-on body panel replacement, engine work, the whole 9 yards. And let's not forget, this Viper isn't just some show car. It's got an 8.4-liter V10 up front that sounds like it eats Camaros for breakfast. The TA version is all about performance. Track-tuned suspension, lightweight components, and just enough raw edge to make every corner feel like a wrestling match between man and machine. And the way Goonzquad tackled it, man, it was like a love letter to muscle car purists. They documented the whole process, piece by piece, showing not just the physical rebuild, but the respect they had for what this car represents. You could tell this one meant something. It wasn't just a cool car, it was a goal. When they were done, the result was absolutely bonkers. That long hood, the aggressive stance, the V10 snarling like it just ran out of a cage. Everything about this build screamed, "Don't mess with me." But more than that, it showed the range these guys have. From Ferraris to kit cars to a straight-up track weapon like the Viper TA, Goonzquad has proven they're not just wrenching. They're mastering the craft. Which one of these Goonzquad beasts are you driving off with? The Viper TA Track Demon, that wild Ferrari 458 comeback story, or maybe the kit car built from a literal scrap and pure guts? Smash that like button like a Hellcat hitting the throttle. Comment your favorite rebuild or the one you'd risk your license for, and don't forget to subscribe because the next garage drop might just out crazy this one.